Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Fisher, and I'm Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. It is Monday, August 17th, 2021, 8:01. The first item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes from August 2nd, 2021. Any discussion?
I'll move approval.
Second?
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Motion approved. The second items on the agenda, the first one is going to be a 403 8th Avenue South Island Park Historic Overlay Review.
Yes, so the proposal in front of you takes place at 403 8th Avenue South within the Island Park Historic Overlay District. The applicant, Daniel, is requesting to do some exterior renovations, which include repainting of the upper peaks of the main house, remove the cedar shake siding on the house and garage and replace that with dark gray steel siding, replace all the windows on the property, replace all the exterior doors. He will also do renovations on the front porch, which would include repainting of the white columns. And I have a picture of that somewhere right here. Repainting of the white columns and ledge, reface the floor with brown maintenance-free decking, and refinish or rebuild the stairs, as well as pour new concrete driveway and pathway to the house, and then replace the shingles on the garage. If you have any questions regarding this project, the applicant is here to answer them at this time. And then here's just a rendering of what they're proposing with those as part of those renovations.
I have a question regarding well, first of all, this is one of those houses that originally was a really beautiful house that over the years has been turned into our apartments and changed a lot, and most of the historic character is long gone. As far as I can see, the only really historic things that are left are the porch columns. I'm glad you're going to repaint those because they're pretty much irreplaceable, actually. And the ledge and maybe the dentils at the top of the porch. And the other thing that seems to be the only remaining historic elements are the Palladian windows in the gables, and that's the arched window with the two side square windows. How are you going to replace those? Are those original wood windows still?
I guess one clarification on that, when I said all windows, we won't be replacing those top ones in the top gables, since they're pretty tough to find, I would say. We'll be keeping those, so.
Okay, excellent, thanks.
I guess I did have a question for you as well. So, especially on the front elevation, those windows are not the original size and shape of what was there. Actually, personally, they've always kind of bothered me because they look a little wrong. But I was wondering when you're removing the shakes, have you given any thought to potentially putting that back to the way that it would have been?
Yeah, and I'll let Taylor speak on a little bit more on the construction side, but that's how we got it, I guess, and I would like to change it if we could. I guess that was one of the questions we maybe had for you guys was, since I saw or heard something that you guys or the commission suggest that we keep the windows the same opening, but we wanted to kind of clarify that with you guys before going ahead on that. So we'd be open to suggestions there, but there's certain things we'd like to do as much as we can, I guess, and I agree that it would look way better if it's symmetrical.
Right. My thought is when you're getting ready to install the new siding, you're going to remove the shakes, and I'm not sure if the original siding's under there or not, but it's really likely that when you get down to the wood that's underneath that, you'll see kind of ghosts of where old windows have been patched in. So that could give you some indication of where things might have been. And of course, I don't know what's going on inside, where walls are and where rooms are and what would make sense. But I was just curious if you had any thoughts about potentially changing the arrangement of the windows.
Once we start stripping off the old siding, then we'll kind of just see what's under there and see what we can adjust. And we like to keep it, remove the windows that are kind of sticking out of the cemetery, like the one next to the front door there. That one's sitting lower. We like to replace that one, or
Or just get rid of it.
yeah, just get rid of it and then re-insulate the interior. But once we get the siding removed, then we'll kind of make adjustments on what we can keep and what we can't.
I'll ask the board, is there any kind of thought to what that would, like if they were to discover that something was, they could put something back the way it was that would work for their design plans, is that something that they would have to approach us with? Or are they supposed to hold on to the arrangement of windows even though they're not the original arrangement of windows?
I think the original intent of that provision was if there are historic windows, keep the size and don't do what's been done to this house actually by, right? But these are not historic windows, except for the ones on the top. And so I don't think there is a requirement to keep windows that violate the historic character of the house. So I really appreciate what you said. If you take off the siding and you find remnants of what the house originally was, and if you can reasonably put some of those features back, like the sizes of the windows, the house would look so much better if, in fact, the window sizes were what the historic sizes were of the house. But we don't know that, of course, as you said, until you take off the cedar shakes and find out what's under it. So,
If I can make a recommendation, a lot of times there are quite a few historic images. If you go to the Institute for Regional Archives, the Digital Horizon, you can look at a lot of, especially within the northern, but also the south area in these districts, they have a lot of homes, historic images. And I know even last night I was looking, and I know for sure your neighbor, the house next to it, and a couple of them on that street are in there. So you might want to dig a little bit, just make sure that there's not a historic image of this house, which would save you a lot of time. It's worth a look.
Yeah, that'd be good.
because this really is a beautiful neighborhood. The houses around this are just wonderful houses. And to the extent that you can bring some of this house back to that character would be a really great thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's, yeah, like, we're really excited about the project. It's a high visibility area. It's one of the first things you see heading into downtown from the south as you get into Island Park. So hundreds of thousands of people will see it every day. So we really want to make that corner stand out in a good way.
I do have just a question about that garage behind it. Do you know when that was built?
I think it was built in the 20s. It was an addition. The garage was, and then they took the top off and added the floor. I mean, added the additional unit over it.
Okay. I was just curious. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the applications or the applicant's submittal.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay?
Those opposed, same sign. Yep, motion approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is 1001 Street South in the Erskine Overlay District.
Yeah, so 1001 6th Street South is in the Erskine Historic Overlay District, and the applicants are requesting an exterior remodel of the front of the porch. And so what'll happen is, due to the nature of deterioration of the side porch steps and roofs, the structure must be removed and rebuilt. The applicant did provide some renderings as well as dimensions, and then I believe some materials along with that as well. And if you have any questions, the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
I have one question. Are you going to keep the columns and reuse those?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're gonna stay the same.
Because the columns are an important design aspect of this porch, and I think if you could keep them, that would be excellent.
Yeah, the columns itself is actually in good shape considering the age. So I believe just by cleaning it up and then repainting it, I think yeah, I don't think there's gonna be any issues in keeping them.
Excellent.
Great.
Last night I was looking at the overlay and what they titled the home as a prairie home from 1907. Is it 1907?
Yep.
I was just, this has nothing, no questions, but I was just surprised that they styled it as a prairie home, because I know the house well. It's right on the corner, and it has, it's basically the pressed stone, but they use a press for the entire first story, which is really rare. A lot of times those pressed stones are just along the baseline. So it really stands out, and to me, doesn't really look like a style of prairie so much.
We were
So
told
it's eclectic.
we were told it was a kit house from Sears, and it was shipped in. All the parts or pieces and the brick and all of that was shipped in when we bought it in '97, is what we were told.
Okay.
Don't know if
Yeah,
that's.
it's just an interesting house. You don't see many of them,
Yeah.
especially with that first floor
Yeah,
like that.
it had been remodeled into apartments when we bought it. It was 2 apartments, and 18 years ago, 17 years ago, we remodeled it back, the interior, into a single-family home.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's really a fine house, and yes, many, many houses came as Sears kit houses in many, many styles and designs.
Any more comments, questions? Is there a motion?
Well, I'll move approval as submitted.
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next item on the agenda is 317 University Drive South in the Jefferson Overlay District.
So you might remember this project from our July meeting. We had come forward with this house right here at 317 University Drive in the Jefferson neighborhood. At that time, you had approved the siding renovation to be done, and then we were gonna come back and speak more about the door, and I believe the brick as well. And Tom is here to kind of give you an update on what he has learned and what's going on with his project.
Well, it's somewhat of a good news, bad news report. I am able to put the brick on for return the brick. It will be very close to the color. Like as I said last time, we're able to elevate some of the window wells and do some repair on the north side, and the brick matches really well. And that's going to cost us about $5,400. In terms of the door, I haven't had any luck locally with somebody being interested in helping me with the door. The Crane Johnsons, the Simonson Lumbers, the D&M doors kind of run away from this type of a project because it is a very custom thing. I've had 2 companies, one in North Carolina and one in Boulder, Colorado, say they would make the custom door, but they will not warranty a wooden door for an exterior project like this. Most wooden doors in exterior nature have to have a 3-foot overhang in order for them to warranty. So that gives me pause. However, Central Door in town will take a pattern, has taken a pattern of this door and would make me a metal door exactly to the shape of this door for replacement. That is, it can be painted to match. I mean, this is a painted door. From my perspective, it gives me somebody locally that I can deal with, that I've already had a relationship with, that I know if I have problems with the door. But to put up a door that I can't warranty, that gives me pause. That's where I'm at with this. The cost of the door itself is going to be about $6,000 either way, with either a wooden door or a metal door. That's the report I have.
Question for you, the image that is in the packet isn't detailed enough to really see what the assembly of the door is. It's just panelized wood.
It's It's a, I don't know how do I describe this? It's probably about 8 inches.
Okay.
There's very discreet seams
And
in it at all.
so it is not a relief in the wood.
No, there's no elaborate design in it. There was like a 9-inch window at about eye height at one time, but that has been closed off. So there is not much design to the door other than the shape. The shape is very challenging. It's not an arch door. It's more of it's not a dome. It's more of a, what I'm trying to say. It's more triangular. So that's why a pattern has to be sent off. You could buy a door, a prefabricated door that has an arch to fit in that spot, but it can be made to fit the exact size and shape of that door.
And central door, as you said, would be
Yes.
able to do so. Would they be able to replicate some of those reliefs?
I would say no.
No.
Yeah. And it would be an outswing door that would meet all the fire requirements for the occupancy that we're going to be using it for.
I think at this point you've shown more than a little ability to step up and try to help as you can. I personally feel like you've done enough to help.
These properties are amazing. Like that front step needs to be repaired, and in these old buildings, they built the basement out over it, so the step is a room underneath it. They're just really cool.
I think my major concern with the door replacement was the shape of it. And I think if you've got someone that can replicate the shape of it in an outswing metal door that meets your needs for your facility and from the street maintains the shape, I think that's a good compromise personally.
But I think we also, last time we talked about, maybe, be willing to think about like a round top fiberglass door that is pre-manufactured. I know Therma-Tru is one that has one. I don't know if we necessarily said like it has to be the exact replica of this door, but the style of the house probably deserves something more than, centered on this sort of entry gable, deserves something more than probably a square top door, if it were to be in keeping with the original character of the home. Did you look at some round top options like fiberglass from Therma-Tru? Did anyone help you out with that?
No, I went and looked to replicate the door exactly.
Okay.
I would maybe echo what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
think that
6,000,
looked great.
it's a big chunk of change, so I
mean,
think that might be a good
Yeah,
option as
there are
well.
homes down 8th Street. I grew up in a house that looked very much like this with a beautiful round top wood door. So personally, I think that's a more economical way to go than actually having the door replicated. Like I can understand that. So that would be my suggestion.
I guess I would agree. I mean, if it was a rounded arch or a segmented arch a little bit, it's a little point or a rounded thing isn't going to make that much of a difference as much as, a square metal kind of escape door is not going to look as good. But I would be fine with an option like
Got a
that.
door right here. I'll show you.
Okay, but I have to be sure that I can get a panic bar on it and all those things and have it push out. So.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And hopefully.
You'd save some money.
Save some money.
Oh, I'm-
$1,000.
Well, I do have time because we're going to like I said, the front of that building will be the last thing that we side, and we can take our time on this. So there's lots of other work to be done. So I'm not sure of your title, if it's committee member or could you just have
Mike.
Mike?
Mike, yeah.
Could you just
Absolutely.
email that to me?
Yep.
I can take a look at that.
Sure thing.
I can come back with some options.
Yep. I'll show it to the board as well. So.
Well, maybe that's our question is, would we meet again?
I think that depends on you. I think you could say if as long as it's a round door, not a square top. If you'd like him to go ahead and proceed with the project as is, we can do that. Or if you would like him to come back and show you, we can kind of email. If we're not voting on anything, maybe it's something we can email out and just say, hey, this is, the final door he's picked, and just want you to know what's going on as an update. We could do that too.
well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I agree that you've tried really hard to accommodate the recommendations of this commission, and I think the final detail, whether it's a door of this shape or slightly different shape, as long as it respects the character of this door, is not just a flat top door, I think we can perhaps agree with that, and you can continue
Okay.
as necessary to complete the project.
Yeah, the front of that building really is its own character. It's really a cool entryway.
And I'd like to reiterate how much I appreciate, and I think the commission appreciates the time and effort it took to solving this unique situation.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Is there a motion? Who wants to word that one?
I will try to, a motion to recommend that the door shape and material, metal, be approved, either the shape it is now or a similar shape with a round top.
Okay.
Nice second.
All those approved, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, sign. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the bylaw overview.
Yeah, so within your bylaws, I believe it's section 4, and I will pull that up right now. It states that basically commission relationships with other governmental bodies. The commissioner acting as liaison to the following bodies will report significant items at the regular meetings of the commission. Staff feels that at this time, with access to internet and all the videos that get uploaded online, that maybe this isn't such an important part of your bylaws, and feel that it could be removed at this time. So that would be our recommendation, is to remove this out of your bylaws. And then that way on your agendas, you'll no longer see those liaison reports.
I would agree with that, especially since we can't do anything about what's reported anyway. And since all of this information now is so readily available, when these bylaws were adopted, it was a different era, and this information was not at everybody's fingertips on the computer.
Just make a motion.
Motion. Mhm.
Motion.
Well, I'll move that the bylaws be amended to remove the liaison reports.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And motion is approved. Wonderful. The next item on the agenda, any,
We can skip that if you'd like. The
What's that?
liaison. We can skip the liaison.
well, yeah, I just went, I
reports. Okay.
totally skipped it already. We're done with that. The other business. I have other business, if I may bring
Yes,
something
go
up.
ahead.
So while I was researching the Island Park edition, or the overlay, on the website, and maybe I missed this, but that was one of the first, if not one of the earlier overlays, and I think it was started in 2005. And the file that we have, it doesn't, I couldn't find where it lists every single property and what the style is. Is that correct? There isn't?
I'm not sure. I can do some digging into that. I know Paul also said it would be helpful to make sure that each of the ordinances have the map and then the styles as well. So we can go back through our files and make sure that that's also online, and then
Okay.
we can get you paper copies as well.
Yeah,
of all
I think as long as it's in the same format,
Okay.
that would be really helpful. That was my only comment. Okay.
I just have a discussion item. And my concern about a project like 317 University Drive South is that it comes to us much too late. It comes to us after decisions have been made that really are irreversible. And I'm not sure how that happens. The applicant said he was aware that it was in a historic overlay district, but I guess we didn't ask him if anybody advised him as to what the requirements would be to meet the design standards in that overlay district. And other projects seem to come to us too late often, after decisions have been made that are very difficult to reverse. And I think everybody would benefit from, if we could find a way to review projects before decisions have been made that are irreversible. And I'm not sure what the process would be for that, but I'd like to bring it up because everybody looks bad. We look like the bad guys if we say, no, you can't do that. The city inspector looks bad because obviously they've found something and says, no, you can't do that. You have to go to the Historic Preservation Commission. People involved in the project who may have been in a position to advise somebody haven't done that, and so they look bad. I just would like to bring this up to see if we can find a way to make this process less contentious.
To that point, it is my understanding that when an applicant for any specific project tries to get a permit, they are informed of the historic overlay and are asked to present in front of us at that time, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I would say majority of the projects that you see, the applicant has tried to get a building permit, and then that gets flagged at the inspections department. And then it comes up to our office, where then I inform them of the historic overlay district that they're in, give them those guidelines, and then we try to work with them that way. There are very few projects where people have knowledge of the fact that their house is in a historic overlay district and what that entails.
Do you know, is the permit issued at the time of application often? And
So
then it gets raised after the fact?
No, but usually gets flagged right when they try to apply for the permit, and then they will not receive a permit until after you have met and I have signed off on your commission's behalf on the permit.
So likely the applicant has done whatever demolition work ahead of time.
Correct. No,
lot
I
of
would take that
time-
back because a demolition does require being seen by your board.
Correct.
So if they need a
but-
permit for it, if they get a permit for it, that's when the work is.
Right. I guess my statement is more so they do the demolition prior to knowing that they should have a permit, or
Sometimes. On the way over here, the project on, was it 8th Avenue and 4th Street? It's got a new front door on it already, so,
Right.
I mean, they've torn out everything on the backyard, they've already begun work on it, so. Mike, I was thinking, is there something that, I mean, it's not, I'm just thinking in terms of when someone purchases the property, as part of the deed transfer, could there be some sort of thing that they have to sign that says, I'm aware that this house is or this property is in a historic overlay?
Well, as a
Say, real estate person.
I think that's part of, we've talked about this before, where who should be the one to tell, right, the homeowner that information? Is it the city, is the realtor? I think some do.
Realtors don't know. A lot of realtors
Right, a
don't
lot of
know.
them don't know. That's
I've
part of the
let people know that, oh, by the way, your listing's in a historic overlay, and if the person who buys it wants to change it, they're gonna have to come by a board of people who are gonna make very expensive ideas in their head. So I know of a property that was purchased by somebody who wanted to tear it down to build a new house and found out they couldn't and then had to sell it again because the realtor didn't even know.
Right.
So it would be great if there was some way that during the transaction of purchasing the house, the person was made aware of it before they purchased it, or it's some sort of safeguard in that respect.
That scenario that you just mentioned is interesting. And in contrast, 317 South University, I'm a commercial real estate agent. That was my listing. I sold that. And so they knew from the get-go that that was in a historic preservation district because I provided that information right up front to them. And unfortunately, that resulted in a lower offer. And so, but from a real estate ethics and legal aspect, that's what we call a material fact. That should be disclosed. That's something that you should know if you're going to buy it.
Absolutely.
However, on the buyer side, if the buyer intends to do something that I'm unaware of, try to I'm going to buy this and tear it down. I can't anticipate that. That's completely on him if he doesn't disclose that up front. And I'm not really obligated to help him with that either.
As a buyer's agent, though, I could see where
Buyer's agent, yes.
if your client has intent to do something and you're aware of it and you don't disclose that this is within a historic overlay, then where's your due diligence end?
Yep, I
Is it
agree
your
on that.
responsibility to provide that information for your client?
I think finding out, though, when you come in for a building permit that you're in a historic preservation district and that you need to comply with whatever that district defines, that's really late for people that are in business, like the two gentlemen that were here for the 403 A Street. They probably, they plan how many projects they're going to do per year, and they're just wrapping up a project, and they go to get a building permit, and surprise, they find out that they can't start on the project the next day because now there's going to be a delay. For the September meeting, what is the latest that someone could come in to this committee? Is there a deadline that they have to submit?
So I typically ask that we have everything 2 weeks prior to when your meeting would be held. So September, that would be the third Tuesday. So the
Really, right
sec-
now, if someone was acquiring a house in a historic preservation neighborhood and acquired it and waited 2 weeks before they went to get a building permit, and then found out that they're in a historic preservation district, but it's too late to put it on the September calendar, so then it would go to October. So from a business standpoint, the timing is way off. And so the sooner we could learn about it, the better.
Weeks of waiting, you're spending a lot of money to sit.
Yeah, they may be doing one project after another, and so they may not have multiple projects going, and so they just finish one up and they're going to start the next one, and now you've got a 6-week delay. What do you do? And then until they come to this committee and get approval, then they can't really order materials, and materials right now are taking some time as well. So, but if they don't learn until they go pull the permit that they're in the historic preservation district, then I don't know how we tighten up that timeline. But I like where you're going with that. The sooner they know, the better.
Right, and as far as the real issue at hand, I think we're correct that the city doesn't have the ability to inform people broadly. So I think it has to fall back on the owner and the seller's agent to disclose this information, or the buyer's agent for that matter. But how do you inform the sellers and buyers at this point? So I think this might be a good conversation to have within the realtor community to educate more.
I'm just trying to think of if I was going to sell a property that was in Rose Creek, well, there's ordinances there that you have to,
Right.
Restrictive covenants.
Restrictive covenants,
things like
yeah.
that.
If
sorry,
overlays
yeah.
or anything, you're gonna
So
need to be able.
you have to sign off on the disclosure that you're aware that the property is subject to restrictive covenants. This is kind of
Yeah,
that.
and those restrictive covenants and deed restrictions and things like that are actually recorded documents. And so when you're going through that acquisition process and the abstract is being updated and you're getting a title opinion, it becomes obvious right then and there. I don't think that this is recorded.
They are.
They are, okay. So
So these should pull up on title opinions. I don't know if it just shows up as a document number. I don't know if it says historic overlay district, but if someone were to research these documents should be recorded against the properties.
And see, and I've sold properties within historic overlays, and I don't believe it comes up at the closing table.
I don't believe so.
Where, someone has to sign off on
Get
that.
it on that table.
I have to call some of my title friends today and
Yeah.
ask
So
some
is
questions.
that where the buck stops? Then the title company would be the one to
Well,
amend this.
it shouldn't be the title company's responsibility to inform someone that their property they're purchasing is within a historic district. Really, it should be the seller disclosing that in their seller's disclosure that there are restrictive covenants based on this overlay. But if the seller's unaware of it, then the seller can't disclose it either. So I think, just having at least a safeguard of being made aware at the closing table is at least they know that prior to starting a project, prior to applying for permits, they are aware of it, even if it is later than they want to be made aware of it, it's before it's in front of us, which makes us look like less of the bad guy. So
It might be something that the realtors need to undertake on their own and just add another disclosure to their package. You know, along with a lot of the disclosures are, well, residential real estate is really designed to protect innocent parties. And so disclose is what the advice always is. On the commercial side, it's, let the buyer beware. But on the residential side, there's lead paint disclosures and there's a number of I don't do residential real estate, so I can't cite the entire list of documents that they use that I don't, but
there's too many documents to keep track of.
there's a
that you
lot of
wouldn't be able
documents.
to.
But this might not be a bad addition to that.
Because that's just a line item on disclosure form, so what's to keep you from adding a historic overlay as a line item? I mean, at least it's a flag that hopefully someone's doing their due diligence to verify.
Yeah. Personally, if I was acquiring a property in a historic neighborhood district, overlay district, I would want to know before the closing table what I was getting into.
Absolutely,
Because that would have
yeah.
an impact on my appetite for that particular transaction.
Funny story, when we bought our house, and the Erskine, we didn't know it, but it was implemented the day that we bought it. But I was like, yay.
Yeah, obviously I have no problem living within a historic overlay. I kind of like that, but some people may not. But
Right. So you're gonna get on that then, adding that line item?
I will look into some things. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation. It's been bothering me for some time that when projects come to us too late. And so I think if the realtors can begin from their perspective to try and help this situation, it doesn't help with existing property owners who've owned the property for a long time, but at least we
need to
started
do a
the
PSA,
conversation.
I think.
A mailer out to the neighborhoods, just so you're aware, your house has this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm keeping that in regard when you've got people that came in like 403 8th. What they're doing to that house in that neighborhood on a corner, it's not an arterial street, but it's a heavily traveled street, and it's on a corner leading towards Hawthorne School. That is exactly what we need to see in those types of neighborhoods, is more of that kind of desire to step in. And I mean, there's more lucrative projects for those guys to do than that project, I think. So what they're doing is really beneficial.
Okay, that was active discussion. Thank you, everyone. Hold on. Okay, so our next meeting, is September 21st, 2021. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.